The Chicago Board of Education approves a new one-year contract with the police department for school resource officers. City Council prepares for budget hearings, and Mayor Lightfoot doubles down on the October 15th deadline for all city workers to be vaccinated. All that and more with our Spotlight Politics team, Heather Sharon and Paris Schutz. Welcome back, everybody. So, as we heard earlier, of course, the Chicago Board of Education, they met today. And since schools started this year for in-person learning, of course, we're still hearing concerns over the district's COVID testing plan, which has yet to reach its full capacity, Heather, and its contact tracing. Heather, what did we learn today?
Well, we learned that the district is attempting to triple the number of contact tracers that they have assigned to track and trace potential exposures to COVID at schools. Of course, this comes after several months where we heard Mayor Lori Lightfoot reassure parents and teachers and staff that the schools were completely ready for students to come back 5 days a week without any capacity restriction. It's clearly been a bumpy start to school.
And on Monday, Mayor Lightfoot told you, Paris, that she's disappointed in CPS's COVID testing efforts. Does this signal disappointment in outgoing interim CEO Jose Torres' handling of reopening?
Well, it certainly seemed that Torres was the fall guy here for what's been going on at CPS with respect to testing and contact tracing, and he's gone. I mean, the board officially confirmed the appointment of the permanent replacement here as CEO, Pedro Martinez, but it's little comfort to the teachers union and to many parents who have also been frustrated. They're looking at the mayor saying, well, the buck is supposed to stop with you, so it doesn't make sense that you're frustrated. Why aren't you doing something about it? Now she says she is. The CDPH and Dr. Allison Arwady, their team now is in charge here and helping to get a system-wide testing program and, as you mentioned earlier, a contact tracing program up and running.
And that said, it was always intended that the mayor would replace Jose Torres with a permanent CEO. It seems to be it's happening at this moment, a month after school has begun. The board also voted to renew its contract with the Chicago Police Department for school resource officers, but this still comes amid an ongoing push for some students and advocates. They want schools to be officers to be removed from schools entirely. Heather, how significant was this decision today?
Well, it's pretty significant. So it's an $11 million one-year contract, and it will assign at least one police officer to 43 high schools. Now, 30 high schools voted to remove at least one officer, and several schools voted to remove both officers. So this is clearly a sort of the start of what could be a rethinking and potentially a phasing out of the school resource program. What was different than last year, of course, which was mostly remote, schools that didn't want officers got to keep that money and use that money to rethink how they can make sure that their campus is safe and secure. So there will be a lot of eyes to see on how this school year plays out, and perhaps it will be used to encourage more schools to remove these officers from their campuses.
Okay, so on to City Council news. Budget hearings are set to begin on Friday after Mayor Lightfoot presented her spending plan on Monday. It includes a pilot program of direct payments to low-income Chicagoans, something Alderman Villegas proposed in the spring. Now, here's a clip from Chicago Tonight earlier this week when he spoke with Paris.
First of all, imitation is the greatest form of flattery, so I'm glad that this made it into the budget. We're 5 months past the introduction of the ordinance, which means that we could have been 5 months into a pilot program.
So are you saying the mayor didn't really collaborate with you on this?
Oh, no, absolutely not. She did not. She just took my language and incorporated it into her budget.
Now, this proposal, it seems to lean into several items that progressive city council members have been hoping for. Heather, is this going to get them on her side?
Well, that's what she told Paris. She said, hey, there is no reason that this budget won't win an overwhelming majority of aldermen. And I think that's possible, but I still wouldn't bet on it because there are still a lot of questions about exactly how much money the mayor wants to spend on which priorities, and whether at the same time the mayor is spending $1.9 billion on a variety of programs designed to help the most vulnerable Chicagoans, whether Chicago property owners should be forced to pay an increased $76 million in the city's property tax levy. So all of those questions are going to be put to the mayor's finance team's starting Friday morning, and it will really sort of start to shape that debate, because this is a $16.7 billion spending plan. It's one of the biggest in the city's history. And of course, that's because of all that federal cash that's flowing to the city. So the question is, how is the city going to spend it? And is it spending it in the right way, in a way that doesn't put the city on the hook to spend literally millions more in future years?
Right, and Lightfoot balances the budget using some of those one-time funds. Paris, is she just continuing that practice that we know so well of kicking the can down the road as she potentially prepares for another election season?
Well, you know, we see these kinds of tactics every single year. You know, they're going to balance the budget by refinancing debt, by efficiencies, by better fiscal management, you know, vague terms that we really don't know the specifics of. So, yeah, it looks like budgets in years past. And, you know, there's the other part of it, giving $100,000 to each alderperson to spend as they wish in their ward. That's a little carrot to all of them to get them on board with the budget. Of course, which alderman doesn't want to have some money to have some new shiny project in their ward, or clean up the sidewalk, or plant new trees? So other alder people are saying that's not enough money. But I also want to address that little spat there with Alderman Villegas, because he at one time was her floor leader, a close ally of hers. And now he's kind of at loggerheads with her, as he said there. Hey, I came up with this proposal and you stole it and you didn't even consult with me. And it's interesting because Villegas has taken the lead in trying to advance Latino interests. And there's a lot of thought that maybe he might challenge her for mayor in a couple of years.
That'll be interesting. So Mayor Lightfoot is asking city council members, though, to work together this budget season. Here's a listen.
And as the hearings commence and the debate ensures, please, folks, remember to be kind to one another. We can disagree, but not be disagreeable. We need to work together in order to better the lives of our residents.
Now, Heather, are you expecting any fireworks at these budget hearings? What are the key points of contention going to be?
Definitely. So the property tax levy increase is going to be a big issue. It's going to be a big question about whether the city is spending, like I said, the money on the right priorities to help the city emerge, perhaps finally, from the COVID-19 pandemic. But I think that it will not be kumbaya by any stretch of the imagination. Let's not forget that, you know, last year the mayor was very clear that those who did not vote for her budget should not expect her help. She's since sort of said, well, you know, we all say things that we don't necessarily mean. The year before that, she created a whole website to essentially put the aldermen who voted no on notice. And she only passed her spending plan last year with 2 votes to spare. So I think that she's clearly got that effort to get to 26 in her mind. I think it will remains to be seen whether it will be markedly different than the really fierce and at times heated debate of the past 2 years.
Okay, so the fallout continues for Northside Alderperson Jim Gardiner. Paris, what is the latest with him? I think WBEZ is reporting that he may have tried to pay campaign workers with tax dollars.
Yeah, the WBEZ had a great report suggesting that he gave a campaign worker a raise, but not paid through his campaign, but $10,000 from taxpayer dollars from official accounts, which of course raises a lot of red flags for investigators. That's potentially a big no-no, and it just adds to the problems, the legal problems that this alderperson has had. As we and others have reported, there is a federal probe into some of the issues that have cropped up with him, including these allegations of retaliating against so many constituents and businesses in his ward for simple things like criticizing him on Facebook. So this is an ongoing issue. You saw the Sun-Times editorial board get on him and basically say he should consider resigning. We'll have to see where this goes.
Okay, and Heather, we've got about 15 seconds left. What is the latest with Alderman James Cappleman, attacked by a constituent for the 3rd time outside of his office?
Right. Well, Alderman Cappleman was once a social worker, and he likes to provide direct services to some of his residents in Uptown. One of them took exception to that. He is now facing charges, and Alderman Cappleman says that he will rethink how he approaches those situations, but that he feels very strongly that people in need sometimes need direct help.
Okay, well, that's our Spotlight Politics team, Heather Sharon and Paris. Thanks so much.